Let's talk to Matthew. Matthew, you're on the line with Forrest and Skeptical Heretic. How are you doing today?
Hello. Hey, Forrest. Hey,
Hello.
Skeptical Heretic.
Hi,
Good
Matthew.
to see you again, Skeptical Heretic. Yeah, good to see you again. I saw you on TikTok, and I told you said you were going to be in the line. I was like, you're going to do great. So I figured I'd call in. So I want to start off with presenting truth for a higher power. And then if we have time, I'll get into the proof for Christianity.
Sweet chicken. Sounds good.
All righty. So I was thinking about truth, and I wanted to ask you guys, and it doesn't matter which order you guys answer this, and I just want to know, do you guys see any higher value than truth?
I mean, it depends on... I'm sorry. I don't want to start this way, but it kind of depends on what you mean. It's like, it's weird. Yeah, you go first. You tell me what you think.
I actually tried to answer this today on my live, but I said it depends on like the context, because if it's, I would say in my everyday life, I value truth over a lot of things, but let's say like I feel like there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes maybe compassion, empathy would be first, but that it's a very specific situation. So it's hard for me to give a black and white answer for that. Well, in my opinion.
Yeah, like when you say like the highest value or whatever, like that, like yeah, in terms of like I really care about science and I care about reality and stuff, like, but like I don't know how to like hierarchically rank that in terms of like other stuff, like goodness and morality and really good sushi and like cool water slides and stuff. You know what I mean? Right. Like I don't know where to put that on the.
Yeah, when you're doing all that, what you're trying to do, though, is you're trying to be true to something. Like with empathy, you're trying to be true to what's right or what is the best situation or something like that. There's at the end of it, or the essence of it, you scratch the surface, truth is still at the end of that. Even let's say you make a mistake and it wasn't the right thing to do, you're still trying to be true to yourself, true to that ideal or whatever it may be. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but like that's kind of the issue, is that like it is a word with a ton of definitions. And so if we're going to say truth is so important, and I as a scientist am like, yes, I want to know the truth, and you're meaning, yeah, and also you want to be like honest with yourself and have like integrity. Those are very different things. And so just to say truth as like this massive blanket statement, it's kind of just the limits of the English language. I don't see how it gets us to a God. It sounds to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like what you're going to then say is that God is the ultimate source of truth, and that in order for us to say that anything is true or to be true to ourselves or any of these things is like somehow borrowing from the Christian worldview and like connecting us to God in some way. Is that where we're going with this, or is it something different?
No. I mean, as a Christian, obviously that's what I believe, right? But baby steps, right? I'm trying to present the proof of that truth is that higher power. Jesus says he's the truth, right? In scripture, you don't have to believe it. Jesus says he's the truth.
He does.
I believe as a
Christian.
Say
those things.
Pardon? Yeah.
He does say that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's fair. But I believe as a Christian, right, in some evangelical sense, and I'm not like this massive evangelical or anything like that. That's not really my office or whatever it may be. But as a Christian, I believe, and maybe because evangelism is not my office, I believe if somebody is true to truth and sticks truth and finds truth, if Jesus says he's truth, they will find truth. And if Jesus is not truth, then if they're sticking to truth, then it doesn't make any difference anyway, right? If Jesus was false, he's a liar, and then that's there. I don't believe that.
So if someone is sticking to truth and trying to find truth, they will eventually find Jesus.
Yes, but that's not the point I'm making.
So then why is it that like the vast majority of scientists are atheists?
I got you. That's not the point I'm making. And
I know, but it's a reasonable follow-up question to the thing that you just said.
Yeah, my Christian rationale for that question would be because I deal with a lot of. I grew up around the whole Richard Dawkins kind of God delusion kind of boom. There is no God. There's probably no God. So do whatever you want kind of thing. That explosion. I grew up around that time, and not grew up, but like when I mean like grew up, I mean like grew up in my faith around that time. I was a little bit older at that time, but still grew up in my faith around that time. So when I talk to a lot of people that claim scientists or that claim to be scientists, take Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example. I don't know what your guys' view on him is, but he's getting into a lot of hot water because he's going for wokeism and denying truth. And he's supposed to be a scientist, right? So
what's
even
wokeism?
Prominent scientists, pardon?
What's wokeism?
Well, if you don't know what that is, you can look up Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's in a lot of hot water for what people are calling wokeism.
I know what Neil deGrasse Tyson is. I know who he is, and I know his views on a lot of things. I'm not
and are you aware
endorsing
that
or denying anything he's saying. I know that there's a lot of conservatives that don't like him for the same reason they don't like Bill Nye, because they're talking about modern science.
Recently, he was in some hot water with Bill Maher, for example. Did you see any of that?
I don't really care about Bill Maher, so no. I'm asking you.
About Bill Maher.
You use the word wokeism, and I've heard that word a lot. I know what it means to me, and I know what it means a lot to other people. I'm asking you what it means. What do you think that means?
I don't think it's worth going into. I will tell you what I think it means, but I don't think it's worth going into. That's not where I'm going. But just this idea of these ideologies of women's sports and all these different things. I mean, what you see at Disney, put a woman in everything. If you have a show, it has to have a certain race and a certain sexual orientation, that kind of thing. Or you're not getting any money. You know, Hollywood kind of just panders to that. They really don't care about that stuff. If you look what they do with China and stuff, they really don't care. And
we covered Title IX, Disneyland, inclusion, and racial diversity. I don't understand why this is something that would land somebody in hot water.
I'll give a good example of wokeism. For example, you had in the Harry, I think it was Harry Potter. I could be wrong. No, it was Spider-Man. They had a Spider-Man game, and Insomniac. They wanted to put all the the woke stuff in there, but when they sell it to Saudi Arabia, they had none of that stuff. They took it out. So it was just the like woke stuff? Hollywood.
That's what happens all the time. Literally every movie we make, when we sell it to China, we have to go through like Chinese propaganda filter and like take certain stuff out. Everybody does that. Is that woke? Because that's been happening for a long time.
Well, I'm sure you know what I mean by wokeism.
You've just described.
I really don't. I will get
what you've described there, Matthew, is capitalism.
Yeah,
that's capitalism. Is what that is. Is that they wanted to sell it to another country?
I think you know what I'm talking about with wokeism. I think
I don't think you do, Matthew. But that's not the point. I just don't see where we're going here. Like we've been. I don't see what the point is.
I'll pull back. Right. The whole point is, you asked me about scientists. There are scientists that have a certain agenda. That's why I believe that those scientists that claim to seek truth are not actually finding Jesus. That's my Christian answer. Pulling back from that is not my point. My point is that truth I believe has a solid definition. The one that we were talking about earlier.
You think that truth is the highest thing and that truth has a million definitions, but eventually Jesus said, "I'm the truth." So if you seek out truth, you will find Jesus, unless you're a scientist, because then you seek out truth, but you won't find Jesus because you might want to sell a Spider-Man game in Saudi Arabia.
So what I'm saying is that truth has a solid definition. I think we can all, if we're playing games, we can play games, but if we're not playing games, we have an understanding of what truth is for the most part, right? I think Skeptical Heretic gave a good answer about what truth was. She understood what truth was when I asked about it, and she gave a good response to it. But then I asked, like, well, when we're doing that, we're trying to be truth to ourselves. We're trying to stick with what is and what we believe is right or high value. So truth, as I was saying before, is the highest, most value that we seek as human beings. Even right now, you and I are having a conversation. If I was not acting in what is, you're expecting and hoping that I'm genuine in some type of sense so that we can at least have a coherent conversation.
Okay, so I guess I'm kind of confused about the point. Are you saying that, like, no matter who you are, what you do, if you seek truth, like, you'll end up believing in Jesus? Is that what you're saying?
That's not my argument. That's not my point. I believe that, but that's not the point I'm making.
Okay, what's the point you're making?
The point I'm making is that we see truth as the highest, most value, us as human beings. We see truth as the highest, most value.
You say we, do you mean the three of us on this call?
Yes, I would say that all of us, the three of us and humans in general.
I don't think humans in general, I don't think that's a statement you can make. But the three of us, sure.
I wouldn't say I agree that most people, the truth is like the most important. I think there's like a lot that goes into play there, especially when it comes to religion, because I think I run to a lot of religious people who it seems like they care more about holding their dogmatic beliefs than they do about maybe something that's proven. Do you agree with that?
Well,
or no?
Do they think their belief is true? I'm assuming they think their belief is true. That's why they hold on to it. They're not like, oh, it's a lie, but I'd rather hold on to it anyway.
The thing is, like, it's interesting to me when people aren't willing to like look outside of those dogmatic beliefs at other things that could contradict that dogmatic belief. Do you know what I mean? Like, it holds them back.
It's like they're afraid.
Yeah.
It's almost, and it's weird, right? Because they're almost like afraid that it's true, that they're wrong. And if they're afraid that it's true, that they're wrong, why are they so afraid that it's true? Can't they just believe the lie? No, because if something is true, that means you have to adhere to it because we see truth as a higher value, right? So it's like, oh, well, if I believe that, I do that, then that could be true. And if that's true, that means I have to submit to that. Like, who says you have to submit to truth? But for some reason, they feel like they have to do that, right? That's why they hold on probably to the delusion.
But how do we know how do we know that they're doing it because they value truth the most and not something like they're comfortable where they're at, or like they don't want to go through all the trouble of like examining their entire life and their entire belief system, because that would require a lot of work and also it's pretty scary. So I guess I just don't agree with the statement that like everyone values truth. I think people are convinced of certain things, and yeah, they maybe think it's the truth, but I just don't know if every single person values truth to the highest degree over other things.
Okay, I mean that's just what I've observed, and I believe that is the linking to a higher power. We are all submitting to that higher power. At least let's just say the three of us on this conversation. We would agree, from what I understand, that we would want to know as many truths as possible and submit to that truth, and we don't want to violate ourselves by denying that truth.
And I would say that there's nothing that makes that a theistic claim. Knowing true things is exactly. Wanting to know more true things and being honest about the things that you know that are true, that's an evolutionarily advantageous thing. If I believe with my whole heart that drinking rat poison is going to make me healthier, it's going to kill me. It doesn't matter what my belief is. It matters that what I believe is true. And if I believe true things and as many true things and as few false things as possible, I'm very likely going to lead a longer, happier life. And so, there's a reason why we value truth, or at least the three of us on this call do, or at least I do. I don't know. I can't speak for too many people, but like there's a reason I do. And it has nothing to do with any theistic claim or any God, telling me to, or anything like that.
This is why I specifically said higher power. I didn't want to like add any type of theisticness to it or any type of godness to it, even though I believe that it's God. I believe there's a higher power. I didn't want to add that to that just to kind of frame that to at least come to the understanding that we see a higher power out there that we feel like we have to submit to, and if we don't, there are consequences, as you mentioned with the rat poison.
What's a higher power? Like something supernatural? Or are you saying like laws of the universe, or like what?
Is truth natural or truth supernatural?
I think it's natural.
Truth is a category. Truth is a category that we put on things.
Yeah.
Okay, you say it's a category that we put on things, and I'm wondering this question because someone actually presented that idea to me, and I asked them, they didn't give me the answer. When I say, did we come up with the category of rock?
Rock?
Yeah, rock.
So this is actually, I feel like I want to, if it's okay, just for a second, let me just cover this really quickly so that we're not,
Yep.
going through a weird rabbit hole. We named things that we saw. So like rocks exist. Truth just means that something comports with reality. And when something does comport with reality, we just call it truth. Truth is not like this ethereal, magical thing that is derived from something. It's just a label, just as rock is a label.
Correct.
When something is made of certain conglomerations of minerals, we call it a rock. And that doesn't mean that there's some like platonic form of rock in this higher dimension that from which all the rocks are derived. It's just labels that we put on things.
Bueno. So that's exactly. So that's why. So we know what truth is. Like there's we don't need to say, oh, it's just we don't know what it is. Oh, it's just no. We know what truth is. That comports with reality. We know that we go against that. So it's not. If you feel that if you believe that it's natural and you see that it's natural, then it's natural, right? We don't need to add any supernatural to it. We don't need to do any of that, right? We don't need to go into La La Land, right? We know that what comports with reality is truth. That is a higher power over us. We have you and I, the three of us, like you said. If we do not submit to this,
truth is not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you. I really do. But like,
Please,
you did the thing where you just recursively went back and just slid in. Truth is this thing, and truth is a higher power. Truth isn't a power. Truth is just a label. It's not a power.
That which comports with reality is what? A label?
Yes, that's just a description. I don't understand where we're going with this, dude. It's been 16 minutes and we haven't gotten to any point where we're actually talking about a God.
What do you think happens if we don't submit to truth? Like whatever that means to you. Like what do you think happens?
Depends on the situation, right? Forrest mentioned drinking rat poisoning, thinking it would cure you, but it won't. You'll die. So depending on the degree that you deny truth, I wasn't done.
What about rich, successful people who get their success from being dishonest and they live a great life, they get a bunch of money and they do terrible things? Like, what's the consequence for them? Because like, we don't live in a perfect world where everyone gets some kind of like consequences for their actions if they don't get caught for something or whatever. So then like, I guess, where do you end up with that?
Like I said, there are minor consequences and there are major consequences. I don't know how that person sleeps at night. Maybe they do sleep at night. I don't know. Right? I can't go to the depths of each person's consequences, but I know there are consequences from denying truth. That person may self-delete one day because they feel like they've defiled themselves. I don't know, but there are consequences. And not only are there consequences for them, maybe they have maybe their life is perfect. They have no consequences for them, but someone else may receive consequences from obviously the person they worked over in life.
People they're exploiting.
So, the people they're exploiting. So there are consequences there. So there is consequences for denying truth, even if the person who denies it is living the best life now, as Joel Osteen would say.
Just out of curiosity, is there not also inevitably consequence for embracing true thing as well? And those consequences may be equally or even more dire than the consequences for denying a true thing.
You mean, no, definitely. And sometimes when you go with truth, that there may be certain bigger consequences that you have, but the consequences not due to denying truth.
So here's the thing, man. I don't understand what we're talking about or why we're talking about it, because
that's fair.
Believing in true things, but I'm gonna finish this sentence. Believing in true things leads to consequences. Not believing in true things leads to consequences. So a lot of people value truth as a really high thing. A lot of people don't value truth as a really high thing. A lot of people dedicate their lives to seeking out truth. A lot of people dedicate their lives to exploiting and dealing in untruths and trying to spread lies. It's just a thing. And I've yet to find 18 minutes in, and we've yet to discuss why this relates to any significant meaning of a higher power, why this gets us to God, why this gets us to Christianity. Can we skip the script and just get to where you're trying to go? Because this part is real. And I still don't even fucking know what wokeism is. So like I at a certain point, I just want to get to where we're going so we can move on, because we got 5 other people waiting on the line. And like, I want to get to
that's fair. So like I said, I'll move. I lay down the foundation for that. We had a conversation about truth. If you didn't get it, that's fine. I will talk about Christianity and the proof of Christianity. This will be a lot more concrete. This will be a lot something you can dig into and probably have more fun with, I guess. So Jesus, and just as a disclaimer, I'm taking what Jesus said and comparing it to what's going on now in history. So I'm not using the Bible to prove the Bible, just so that we can move that out of the way. Jesus says in Matthew 7:22 and 23. Do you guys know that verse?
No, it's not in my head. You can tell it to me, or I can look it up.
To be a Christian.
I've got my Bible right here, or I've got the internet in front of me. So do you want me to look up the verse and double check it?
I don't have like a ton of Bible verses memorized like I used to in like Tijuana or whatever. Or not Tijuana.
I only have the old ones memorized.
Look at it yourselves and possibly even read it yourselves. That way there's no shenanigans.
Okay. Matthew, you said?
Yes, Matthew 7:22 through 23.
Matthew 7:22 and 23. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, it's this one. Have we not professed in thy name, and in thy name cast out devils, and in thy name done wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you, depart from me, that ye work iniquity. Mine's in fucking King James language. So yeah, it's that one. It's that not everybody who's a Christian is a true Christian, and not everybody who says Lord, Lord is going to get the salvation and the blah, blah, blah. Matthew's a weird one. I got that one.
So Jesus says this, right? And this is what I'm saying, why this proves Christianity to be true, or Jesus' prophecy, which is proving Christianity to be true. Christianity could have fell apart. Jesus predicts basically what we see now, and even the atheists proclaim, hey, you guys don't even follow your own scripture. There are going to be many people that come in his name and say they're going to, we did this in your name, we did that in your name, and he's saying, So basically, he's saying that there's going to be many people that are going to claim to be Christian, and in that many people that claim to be Christian, there's going to be a mass hypocrisy, which we're seeing in this day and age today, which confirms what Jesus was saying back then, in a time where his religion didn't have a snowball's chance and HE double hockey stick to get off the ground.
Just out of curiosity, has there ever been a single time in the course of the entire history of Christianity when there weren't some Christians who were doing Christianity wrong?
No, this confirms the prophecy.
Cool. Right. It confirmed the prophecy the second it left Jesus's lips. Immediately at that moment, there were people who were doing it wrong. And now 2,000 years removed, with over 40,000 different denominations of Christianity around the world, it's even more true. It got more true over time because that's how the telephone game works. This is not a good prophecy. This is like me saying someday people will breathe.
Let me. Are you coming at this, and I'm not offended or anything? Are you coming at this as a matter of fact, or are you coming at this from a skeptical eye?
What does that mean? Yes, the both are true. If you're doing one, you are doing the other.
If some kind of cult leader told me that,
I'm sorry, she had something to say.
If some kind of cult leader told me that, like, not everybody is going to follow me in the right way, I'm not saying Jesus is a cult leader, but I'm just hypothetical. If they said not everyone's going to follow me the right way, and then like they had a following after, and there were different like variations, I don't know. I just don't think that's a good prophecy. I also don't think it's a good prophecy when people are like, oh, well, Jesus said people would turn away from him. Like, of course that was going to happen. There's always going to be people who don't agree with you. And like, I don't know. That just seems more like a fact, or like a fact of reality, than some kind of prophecy in my.
It is the same thing as all the other prophecies, like the prophecy about there's going to be a lot of people who turn against, or who come against you as a Christian and try to convince you you're wrong. That's always true of everybody with any belief ever. Or there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. That's always going to be true forever, no matter. Like, a lot of Bible prophecies are either fulfilled within the Bible, which means they're not actually a prophecy, or they're just typical things that happen all the time forever.
Well, let's dive into this one, because Skeptical Heretic, you said that people are going to disagree with you. This is not people disagreeing with Jesus. They're believing they're following Jesus. And Jesus said many. The whole thing could flip-flop. It could have been few, right, that would think that they were going to follow him. But Jesus wants to encourage his people and say, hey, look, all of you guys will follow, but there'll be a few of you that won't get it. No, he predicts that what we see now is many people claim Jesus, call him Lord, but don't follow what he says. And this is not happening in now where there's a bunch of religious stuff going on. This is where Christianity was really hard to get off the ground, to even predict that there'd be many people that will follow. And not only that, mass hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy goes in not just with the, oh, we don't agree with you. It's like, no, we know we're doing what you say to do, but they're not doing that.
Just as a point of interest, you already admitted that even in the time when Jesus was saying this, supposedly, there were already people who were doing it wrong, which means whether or not this is persistent religion doesn't really have any bearing. This is just kind of like the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. If the religion persists, that means the prophecy is true and people are doing it wrong. And if the religion doesn't persist, then that's because the people were doing it wrong and it didn't get to persist properly, or you would never know about the religion long enough to debate it. There's plenty of other religions that didn't persist that made similar claims. It's I don't know, man. This isn't compelling to me yet.
Oh, well, hold on. You said there are plenty of religions that didn't persist, that made claims. Do you know of those religions?
No, because they didn't persist. But I know of plenty of cults out there that were.
How do you know?
I know of plenty of cults out there, and I do know of plenty of other religions that have these kinds of ideas. That's why you have priests and stuff in all these religions to make sure people are doing it right. And I know of plenty of cults that have failed where they did, where, as she said, they did make this claim: you have to do things my way, otherwise you're doing them wrong. And then everybody drank cyanide.
What about different types of,
please go ahead.
what about different types of like different variations of Islam, or different variations of like Jewish people? Like isn't it that way in every major religion where there's like different variations? So like some of them are going to disagree with each other and say you're doing it wrong. That's why I also don't feel like it's a prophecy, because that's the way religion truly plays out. What?
The emphasis here on it's not some. The emphasis here is on the many. That's one emphasis. And as it goes, and you mentioned religions that like boom, like go and like successful religions. Or no, you guys mentioned cult, right? Cult, either like you said, skeptical heretic. The persons are going to like blatantly disagree and not say, "Oh, we're following your belief," but no, it's different. But the idea is that many. Jesus says many will come and say this. He's predicting mass hypocrisy in his own religion, right? He's not predicting mass adherence to his own religion, which you would probably see in something like that. He's predicting mass hypocrisy, emphasis on the mass hypocrisy in his own religion.
Do you think that's
what does
an
mass
impressive
mean?
prediction?
A lot, many, mucho.
Right. What does that mean?
How do you know who's right?
Because was he talking about
a grand amount of a religion?
A grand amount. So like if there's 20 Christians in the world, then many of them would be like 16 Christians. Yeah, so how do you know he was talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of Christians instead of just like, I bet like fucking Ralph and Dave over there are going to come over here and be wrong about it. And many of them are going to be upset. And like, how do you know what many means? It's a very vague term.
Well, thankfully we have we're in the time now and we see what the many is. Are there many Christians out there? Are there just 12 and Ralph and doodads over there? No, we have many people today that claim to be Christian. Do we not?
Right. But what I'm saying is that again, this is such a vague thing that it could apply to literally anything. And also, as I mentioned before, there are over 40,000 denominations of Christianity, the vast majority of which think that all the other ones are getting it wrong. So how are you going to sit here and say, I have the right one, and the other 39,999 types of Christianity, all those other guys are the ones that are in the many? I'm not in the many. I'm in the few. How do you know you're not in the many?
Hey, Forrest, I could be in the many. That's not the point of the point, right? The point is many will come, right?
Issue.
That's not I'm not going to argue I'm a Christian. No, many will come to him. That's what he's saying.
Do you feel like that's an impressive so-called prediction for you? Like, do you have any other predictions that you think are
it proves Christianity to be true? Pretty impressive.
Just because he said in the future there will be people who don't follow me in the way I want them to, that proves Christianity?
It does. If you have this historical context.
What's the context that makes that like
historical context? Yeah, the historical context is that Christianity could have been a wash. It could have gone nowhere. Right? How did Jesus know that many would follow? It could have been like Forrest said. There could have been like 5 people.
I think maybe he was just overly confident that his religion, like not even overly confident, he was confident enough. I mean, it obviously happened, but like he was confident in that people would follow. Is that really make it true if he believes that people?
That's a great prediction, I guess. So at the very least, he's just a great. He's really good at predicting stuff, or lucky guess. Lucky guess.
Again, that's not even a lucky guess. That is just a truism. That's like it's like the Art what is his name? Art Williams. He was an old motivational speaker, and he would say like things are always going to be about the same as they are, or something like that. And to say that like even when big crazy events seem to happen, people still get up, they go to work, they make do with what they got, and there's even in crazy war times, people are just people getting along with people. Is that a crazy, amazing prediction, or is that just a truism? Is that just a thing that you can say about reality? Some people are going to follow religion wrong.
It's a truism that many will come in the name of Jesus and say, Lord, we've prophesied in your name. We cast out devils in your name. We did many wonderful works in your name, which we see what's going on now. That was just a truism, is what you're saying. And then he will say, depart from me, you work. You guys complain about Christian hypocrisy all the time, and you're saying that's a truism. Am I correct there?
Yes, literally yes. That is just a saying that means nothing in a real context. I can say right now that there are many people out there that are going to get science wrong, that are going to misunderstand the teachings of science and are going to believe hateful, horrible things, and they're going to blow it. And they're going to just be terrible people thinking that they're actually scientific. And that is demonstrably true throughout history. You could put me at any point in history, including today, and that is true. Does that make me a great prophet, or does that make me socially aware of the world around me?
It would make you socially aware around you if this was going on. We already know that people do this, right?
Okay, right. So then does that prove that I am the best scientist in the whole world and I know all science forever?
No, it doesn't, because you already know how the game works, right?
So Jesus, knowing how the game works, knowing how people behave, being a public speaker, and knowing how people follow religions, everything, says people who follow my religion sometimes aren't going to get it right. Not all of you are going to do it properly. And now you're saying, yes, and he could only possibly know that as an extremely lucky guess or as a prophecy, a divine prophecy. It makes no difference.
So you would say that Jesus existed, or yes or no? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Just for the sake of argument, I'm just rolling with it.
Okay, sure. You say Jesus existed, and he said these things, and he just was a guy who knew how people worked, and he kind of just said that, and then that's how it works. Because you have to actually commit to it. If you don't believe he existed, then somebody made this up, and the guy who made this up was the social guy who knew everything what was going to happen, or Jesus knew what was going to happen. Pardon?
I don't think he kind of just said that. I think it's just like living in reality is knowing that if he's trying to create this big religion, or if he's trying to get a bunch of people to follow him, he's going to like be critical of some of his followers if they don't do what he wants them to do. Isn't that just kind of like, I don't know, common sense? It feels like.
And you're saying that he knew he would be successful. He was like, man, if I say this controversial stuff, I'm going to be really successful. People are going to follow me. So many that some people are not going to get it right, and they're going to come to me on that day of judgment and say, "We did this and that." Oh, it's going to. Is that what you're saying? And I'm not trying to be like pedantic or anything. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, he could have fully believed that he was going to like get a lot of followers. I have no idea. He wouldn't be the first person to think that he's creating a like groundbreaking religion. Like whether true or not, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of people in the past who have believed the same thing. So I just wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be anything crazy to me is what I'm saying.
So you're saying like a bunch of other like fake messiahs that came up and like said the same thing, got because they knew the gift of the gap too, and they knew that was going to happen, but they were the ones that didn't make it. But Jesus is the one that made it, so his words are written down.
So just because he was right about his following means it's true.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think that that's the case? That there were other people that were around that were doing the same thing he was doing, and he was the lucky one that just got picked?
No,
I'm kind of confused. I don't think there are a bunch of people doing like exactly what he was doing. All I'm saying is like it makes sense that he would say not everybody who follows me is going to follow me in the right way. I just don't understand like why that's like impressive. I guess I don't, I don't know. I guess I don't understand that.
I also, I would say, like,
I guess
yes,
for me,
yes. Hold on just a second. Let
please.
me just double check this really quickly. So Apollonius of Tyana was born around the same times as Jesus, was also a religious leader, lots of similarities to Jesus Christ. Both were said to have ascended to heaven and all this stuff. I'm trying to pull up like lists. Apollonius performed a bunch of miracles. He was a great spiritual teacher. Apparently his mother was visited by an angel who told her that her son would be a divine creature and there was divine signs in heaven that preceded his birth. These are all the stories of Apollonius, who was around the same time as Jesus and was a great spiritual leader. And no one's out here saying Apollonius Christ, right? Because this is just a dude who was also there. There were plenty of apocalyptic preachers at the time. There have been plenty of apocalyptic preachers since that time. And you only take this one seriously because it became the dominant religion in the Roman Empire and then was used to justify genocide across most of the global north and south. And so, like, I was going to say just north, but really it's the whole world. So this religion was spread through violent conquest, and people were either forced to convert or murdered. And now we have this as like a global dominant religion. That's not the only reason it spread, but it's a big one. And you don't care about any of the other religions that say the same thing. You don't believe in Satya Sai Baba, who was alive during our lifetime back in the early 2010s, who was in India, had millions of followers, walked on water, raised the dead, produced gems from nothing, like did all sorts of miracles and had millions of people believing that he did these things. You don't believe in that guy because it didn't get written down in a Bronze Age slave manual. And so, like, here you are looking at Jesus and saying this is the only time this has ever happened. And it must be right because he said things that are very obviously true to anybody ever. And I don't understand why you give this the same, this special courtesy that you wouldn't give to any other religious belief or any other apocalyptic preacher.
So it seems like what you're doing is kind of proving the point, right? You're saying, or at least what Skeptical Heretic was saying, like he just got lucky and he got picked, right? The other person that you mentioned, I forgot their name, but they were not. Did they even say they would have many followers and there would be hypocrisy in that situation?
I don't even think. Does it matter? I don't know. I just don't even think. I just don't think it's a like impressive prophecy.
You don't think it's impressive. I got that. I mean, and then I'm not trying to like. Impressive.
Let me ask you.
What I'm just saying is that this is the proof that you have. This is the proof that's presented.
Let me ask
whether you think it's impressive or not.
Do you believe? Hello? There's another prophecy that says, and this is the one that I usually talk about in this thing. This is from Mark, I think. If you were to obey most of the people on earth, they would lead you away from God's way. They would teach you nothing but assumptions and do nothing but lie. That's this prophecy speaking to Jesus, speaking to so Jesus. If you were to listen to most of the people on earth, they would lead you away from God. They do nothing but lie and make assumptions. Do you think that is also a good prophecy? Because most of the people on the earth would lead you away from Christianity by your definition?
That's probably not why I think it's a good prophecy, but I appreciate what Jesus said there, and I believe it. But the reason why you're saying why I think it's a good prophecy is not the reason. My focus is on.
Do you think that this prophecy? Do you think that this prophecy is evidence of the truth of Christianity? Is what I'm asking you.
I think. I think this what I given you here is the strongest one. Maybe that may be good, but I don't think it's the strongest one. I believe this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I'm asking you about this one.
Yeah,
I'm asking you about this one. Do you think that this one is also the one that I just said? Jesus, if you were to obey most of the people on earth,
can you find that one for me?
I don't. I just have it written down. I'm reading it to you. Jesus, if you were to obey most of the people on earth, they would lead you away from God's way. They would do nothing but make assumptions and do nothing but lie. Do you think that is a good prophecy?
Did he say this?
Do you think that's a good prophecy? Do you think that's a good prophecy?
I'm not impressed by it. Going back to what Skeptical Heretic was saying, is not one of the ones that I'm impressed by. The one that I'm giving you right now.
So this one that says almost verbatim the same thing, you're not impressed by.
I mean, I haven't really thought about it, right? If I think about it, maybe, but I'm presenting this one. Like, I don't even know where you got that from. Like, I would like to see that where you got it from first.
It shouldn't be hard. You have one that says a lot of people are going to do religion wrong, and I have one that says a lot of people will lead you away from God. That's almost identical. And because you don't,
I wouldn't say. Yeah, I haven't thought about it, but I wouldn't say it's identical. But like I said, maybe I need to give it more thought. But I'm presenting this one here in Matthew to me is the one that, to me right now, as I see it, because I've been looking into it and I've been thinking about it. To me, that one says, "Hey, there will be many that will come to me, and there'll be mass hypocrisy." And what do we see? And maybe because my focus is on hypocrisy, that's one of the things I try to go against, even in myself. So maybe that's why it's more impressive to me. And Skeptical Heretic said it's not impressive. I'm like, that's fine. It doesn't have to be impressive. It's just what it is, right? And so this is the prophecy.
And the thing that I just read to you isn't impressive, but it is just what it is. What's the difference?
Okay. Like I said, with this one that I'm presenting, with this one that I'm presenting, to me, it's more concrete, right? You can see that there's mass hypocrisy, there is mass,
and you can see that most of the people
that will say these things. Pardon?
And you can see that most of the people on earth lead you away from God. That's your belief, is that most of the people on earth are getting this wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think
they're weird.
I don't think they're frothing at the mouth trying to get me away from God. You know what I mean?
It doesn't say that. It just says if you were to obey most people on earth, they would lead you away from God's way.
How is that not what you believe on earth? Yeah, this is why I would need the scripture. I don't know what you're talking about there, Forrest. What is the scripture you're referring to?
Jesus understands hypocrisy and how it works, and he just says, "Hey, there's going to be some hypocrisy in the future." Like, I guess I just don't understand how that's a prediction or a prophecy or whatever. It's just as impressive to me as like the whole wars and rumors of war thing. Like, it's nothing. It's not like brand new information, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, if I say eventually, if I make some kind of quote unquote prediction that eventually some sort of species will die out, is that really like impressive, like super impressive?
Well, it depends on the species, really.
No,
no, because
it depends hold on.
Answer what she actually said.
It depends on the species, and it depends on when you made the prediction. Like if giraffes had no entire sign of being endangered, actually they are endangered species now. So, but they had no entire sign of being endangered, right? And you said back in 1999. I wasn't done. What was that?
Eventually something will die out. Is that impressive no matter when it dies out? I don't think so. I think that's like
it's not.
No. No. But what I'm saying is, for example, we have, like I said, we have a bunch of giraffes in 1999. If you were to say, oh yeah, that species is going to die out in 2024,
he doesn't even give us a date, so that's why I wouldn't give it. I wouldn't give a date. I would just say eventually. A lot of the prophecies in the Bible don't give any dates. They don't give any time period. They're just like eventually this one thing will happen. And so that's why I don't even think it's impressive prophecy ever, because people can predict all kinds of things and say it'll happen
the date
eventually.
Is inconsequential. I'm just saying
it's going to happen if it's like reasonable, I guess.
The date with this prophecy, the date is inconsequential. I'm just saying what would be impressive if you were to improve. I was using your example, if you were to disprove or prove an animal dying out or whatever. The point
Matthew,
is with this.
I actually dare you, like legitimately, I actually dare you to actually grapple with what she is saying rather than trying to turn it into something else. You gave the most vague possible prophecy. Lots of people sometime will get this wrong. That is nothing that means anything. She's giving you an example. Some species someday will go extinct. That is equally as true and as valid as the prophecy of the Bible. The verse that I gave you, most people, if you follow them, will lead you away from this religion. That is equally as true as the verse that you gave. And you keep changing what we are saying to say, well, no, it would be impressive if you said a specific species. It would be impressive if we knew the scripture. It would be impressive if when what we're saying is the same caliber of evidence as you're giving us. I dare you to grapple with what she has said.
All right. You got it. So with the verse that you gave, I would still want to find it because I don't know where that verse is. But no, with Skeptical Heretic, I see what she's saying, and I agree. Like if you were to make a prediction to say you never gave a date, right? And you said sometime this animal is going to go extinct. Animals do go extinct, so it's possible. And if it goes extinct, oh, lo and behold, it's gone extinct.
It's inevitable.
That would not be impressive.
It's not possible. It's inevitable.
Right.
That every species will eventually go extinct.
Correct. That is not impressive, right?
Just as it is inevitable that every person who follows a religion won't follow it the same way. And it's inevitable that if you listen to everybody in the world, you're going to be pulled in a different direction than whatever your tiny little religion says. These are all inevitabilities,
Christianity,
not prophecies.
This is why the historical context is important. Christianity was not inevitable, right? Christianity could have been a wash. It could have fell away. It could have gone nowhere. Jesus predicts it's going somewhere. And you even gave somebody else who apparently did the same thing, and it went nowhere. So did you just get lucky? Was it a lucky guess?
What about the religions that are like, I don't understand. So just because somebody predicts a religion will go on for a long time, then it's true? Or
he's not saying it will go on for a long time. That's not what I and I understand what you're saying with the giraffe thing, and I made the giraffe, but the animal thing, that's not what he's saying. He's not saying the religion will go on for a long time. Even if he did say that, that would be okay. That would be a little hint. But no, he says
many it'll go on for a long time. Uses the language as if it'll go on for a long time. Does that mean it's true? Like what if you found out somebody from a different religion talked as if it would continue for a long time? Would that prove that religion or that belief system?
Not that it will go on for a long time, but it would be interesting. But I would say what Jesus says about the hypocrisy. If you can find me another religion that claims this exact thing, then I would be impressed, and I'd probably recant that idea. But I don't know of any. Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
The Quran very clearly says that the majority of the people in the world will lead you away from God, and that don't get the religion right.
Well, I'm talking about religions before Christianity that are not copying Christianity. Islam is obviously an obvious fake.
Just like how Christianity copied Judaism.
Islam is a parody of Christianity and Judaism. If you don't believe that, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you that that's the case. You can look into it yourself. Hold on. What was that?
Didn't you guys come from the Jewish faith? Like, I feel like you can't say something about
Christianity is Judaism fulfilled.
What?
Pardon? Say that again?
I said it's kind of weird to say that. It's kind of weird to knock on the Muslims for doing that to your religion if you did that to another religion, right?
This is not like I'm in elementary school pointing at the Muslims and laughing at them. Islam
I'm not saying
fake. Let me explain. Islam is an obvious forgery, false, fake parody of Christianity and Judaism. Jesus talks at 5 years old, or once he comes out of Mary's womb, it's an absolute joke. I'm not telling you have to believe it. If you don't,
just
pardon. I'm sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince you of this. But what I'm asking, what the challenge was, what I'm challenging is a religion that doesn't grab from Christianity or anything like that, doesn't grab from any other religion, that just stands on its own and says, "Hey, look, you're going to get a mass group of people here." And many of those people are going to say, "Hey, we followed what you told us to do." And I'm going to say, "Depart from me. I never knew you, workers of iniquity." We have evidence here and now of this Christian hypocrisy, this mass Christian hypocrisy that Jesus has predicted.
Christianity doesn't stand on its own.
I believe it does. Can you tell me why it doesn't stand on its own?
Because it's built off of another religion. And because even now, lots of Christian traditions are built off of other pagan religions.
Okay, so I'm talking about raw Christianity before the pagan religions that.
The raw Christianity,
the Roman Catholic
where
Church.
You could still sell your daughter into sex slavery and stone your children.
That's not what I'm talking about, and I understand why you're trying to go there. But we're talking about the prophecy, right? We're talking about the prophecy that Jesus predicts.
You said raw
Christianity, right? Raw Christianity. So. Raw Christianity.
Also,
Jesus makes this prediction. He says that people are going to come to him and not deny him. They're going to call him Lord, right? Thinking that we're doing the right thing, which we see today. And he's going to say to those many people, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you."
I'm so incredibly it's gone from fun to boring, man. Because here's the thing, you've given us this.
I'm done. I said all I needed to say. That's fine.
No, I'm summarizing what's going on here. Is that you've given us this prophecy, which, as we've explained multiple times, isn't impressive. Both Skeptical Heretic and I have given you other prophecies. Hers was just a vague thing about biology. Mine was actually from the Quran, by the way, which say almost certainly the same thing, something that is as useful and as vague. You went on this tangent
exactly
about
why I was like, hey, what's going on here?
You're going to have to stop interrupting people if you're going to learn a thing. So we went on this tangent about how Islam is this forgery, as if you had to convince us. I don't disagree with that. Islam is almost the exact same story as Christianity. One just has a magic carpenter from Bethlehem. The other has a magic pedophile from Mecca. It's the same fucking thing. And then you've got here, you said, well, that's not older. You need an older one. Here, I just looked up. It took you 2 fucking seconds to find like 5 or 6 verses from the Bhagavad Gita from Hinduism that say similar things, that talk about how there's going to be people who value their own wealth and desire over the teachings of the Vedas, and they only believe the flowery parts that they like, and they don't do the hard parts, and they don't seek the wisdom, and all the same normal stuff as in what you're claiming. But you certainly aren't going to look at Hinduism and say, well, magically, this one is just got lucky, and it's so many billions of people that believe in it, and it's just all over the world, and all these people believe in it magically, so it must be true because it said something that's obviously true of literally any ideology ever, and therefore this one must be true. You're just putting Christianity on this ridiculous pedestal where it has to pass the bare minimum qualification to be considered coherent, and that means that it's actually divinely inspired. And I don't get why you do that, besides the fact that it's just comfortable and nice for you, which is the kind of shit that like other religions claim your religion does. So I don't know, man. I'm not impressed. It's so far been really weird and really boring. And I've got other callers waiting. I think we're about done.
Alrighty.
Skeptical Heretic, I leave it up to you. Do you want to continue on with Matthew at all?
I mean, I think I've said really all I can say. All I can say is...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
just literally, you go ahead. There's a delay. You go ahead.
I just feel like I hear, like what Forrest said, I hear other religions say stuff that's just as like the same level as like what you're saying. So I guess I just don't look at it any different. That's all.
Also, just for reflection, Matthew, you interrupted her like 50 times more than you interrupted me. Every fucking time she opened her mouth, you fucking just started talking over her. And it's so fucking annoying. You let me interrupt you quite a bit. You rarely interrupted me. Almost every single time she started talking, you started talking too. Quit doing that shit. I know Christianity teaches you that women shouldn't have authority over men, should be silent and submissive and all those things. You don't have to act like a dick. You can just read the book. Oh my glob, that's so annoying.
Thanks for watching that clip. Hey, we're trying to do some data research about whether or not our callers successfully proved that God existed. If they didn't, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's how we know they failed. But if you don't like and subscribe, you're saying that they succeeded. So you're saying that by liking and subscribing, you will be affirming that you are an atheist. Hey, what else should they do?
I don't know. Maybe go to patreon.com/calltheline and donate some of their hard-earned money.
Like and subscribe.